is Southeast Texas NORML, and it's also Hemp History Week. If you haven't heard already or seen any of the products that we have out here, it's a national campaign to legalize hemp on an industrial level. All these products here are made from hemp that has been imported from other countries because we're not allowed to grow it here. But with recent legislation in the United States, there's what, I may be corrected by Dereck, but I believe it's 27 states have allowed some sort of legislation for hemp cultivation or research. So we're moving along, but the hemp bills that were in-house this session, of course, did not make it out of committee, and they failed to make it to the governor's desk. So we're going to continue our efforts on a statewide level and national level to not only get hemp legalized, but cannabis in general. So if you would, just make sure you fill out the letter to the senator, which is going to be Cornyn. You don't have to worry about putting his name. We'll fill out his name. Just put your signature and zip code, and we'll get that mailed off for you within the time period. That way they can see how many constituents actually support legalization of it. All right, so the update on the Bill 839, I don't know how many of you out there have been following it. That is a CBD bill that has a low THC content level. The requirements on that have a very low THC to CBD ratio, and only covers epileptic, intractable epileptics, which is a very small percentage of the patients, in epileptic patients, for one, in Texas, and a very, very, very small fraction of the patients that could benefit from it had to be covering them as well. So this bill is not exactly what we were aiming for, but it is a great step in Texas because it's being recognized as cannabis has medicinal properties. And that is the very first time in Texas that they've ever recognized that. So that's all thanks to our efforts, everybody. Thank you. Now, one of the other things that the bill covers is, or requirements, is you have to have, the patient has to have a prescription from 2 different doctors, and those doctors have to have licensing and special license in neurology and, I'm going to say this wrong, but epidology, which is, I'm sorry?
That's good enough.
That's close enough. But anyway, so those are very, and also in pediatrics, because these are going to be treating children. So it's going to be hard pressed to find a doctor that's going to allow that, and for one, the patient's going to have to go through every other FDA approved treatment available, including brain surgery. There is a patient in Texas that has a child that would be the poster child for this bill. Had the THC and CBD ratio that is specified in the bill work for her son, but it does not work for her son. Therefore, and he's already went through all other FDA treatments and brain surgery, so it doesn't cover enough people, even ones that are covered. So we're going to continue fighting for all patients' rights in Texas and nationally until every patient in Texas has the same rights to this God-given plan, if you will. How many, by raise of hands, caught the interview last night on Channel 6 with our anonymous guest speaker? We had an anonymous guest speaker that is suffering from a rare form of leukemia that's incurable. She started using cannabis oil without telling her doctor. She just started using cannabis oil 4 months after she started into her chemo because the chemo had deteriorated her life so much that she was in a wheelchair. She started using cannabis oil and stopped using chemo, and she was in high heels yesterday when we did the interview. So it makes a big impact over the last year that she's been using it. So it goes right there to show that no matter what your ailment is, if you can use cannabis and it helps you, you should have the right to it. So we're going to continue fighting for everyone's rights. But as far as Abbott's remarks in that interview, he said that there would be no further reform as far as marijuana, as far as hemp or recreational or medicinal for any other ailment. According to the Texas Constitution, that is unconstitutional for him to do that. So we are going to push that and push for everybody's rights to the same plan. As far as Texas Constitution is concerned, you cannot limit a small group of individuals and give them rights while leaving out the majority that would benefit from the law that's being passed. And that's exactly what 839 does, is exclude a majority of the patients that would benefit from CBDs. So we're going to continue with this direction and see what we can do about getting the laws changed, serious law change in 2017 in Texas. All right, there was so many, I know many of you have heard the stories or seen the stories on Facebook. There's so many patients out there that were hoping for change, serious change this year, and it didn't happen for them. And there is a start of a mass exodus of patients that are leaving Texas for a more compassionate state for their loved ones, for the life and well-being of their loved ones. I hate to see this because this is not only people I may know, but it's family and friends of mine, and it affects every one of us. So we need to change the laws in Texas to bring these people back. I know many of you heard the stories, and they're all individual and all special, but they all have one thing in common, and that's they're all could be benefit from this plan. So once again, we need those that are staying in Texas. We need your help more than ever now, because the ones that were fighting for their rights are moving out because their rights were not listened to. And we need to make a stand in Texas as a whole and come together to get these laws changed seriously in 2017.
Amen. Amen.
Now we're working on local efforts, persuading local authorities to take certain decriminalization measures. We started this late last year, early last year. Again, mid-year with Jeremy, his case. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it. Although the DA was reneged on the contract that he signed, with the assistant DA signed, that allowed him to possess and consume cannabis, we're still going to continue working with the DA and going into even more of a county reform. We're going to be talking to city council leaders on an individual level, and then going and talking to the council before the whole council, and talking about loosening up these things. It's not necessarily a policy, it's not necessarily a law change, but it'll be policy change within certain counties and cities. And if we can get those policy changes in effect, then in effect we'll basically on a small level decriminalize, because they'll stop wasting the time and efforts on it. So that's another thing that we're gearing up to start investing our time and efforts and resources that all of you supply with this on a day-to-day basis. So thank you for your donations and your time and your support and volunteering and doing all of this, because it does make a difference. Let's see. One of the other things that the anonymous guest that spoke of was that she didn't consult, or she hasn't told her doctor that she's been using cannabis. They continue to run tests on her, and they see that she's getting better. They assume that she's taking her chemotherapy and continue with the treatment they've recommended, but she's not. And that's one of the things that we want to encourage anybody out there that is taking cannabis and has kept it secret. That's one of the confidentiality clauses in the law that the doctor has with you. Unless law enforcement is under certain provisions, law enforcement can require it. But the fact of the matter is, there's a code of ethics that doctors follow, and by the doctor not talking to you and not researching every available option for the best of your well-being, is not upholding those code of ethics. And we're also going to push that issue. So if you have been using cannabis and you have a ailment that is definitely is showing improvements, we'd like to talk to you. We'd like to talk to your doctor. We'd like you to talk to your doctor first. There's steps that you can take, precautions. I know everybody is very cautious about that, because a receptionist overhearing it, boom, gets turned in, CPS calls. There's a lot of things that can be lost in Texas as of today. even with the recent bill passing. So we want to focus our efforts on making sure that our medical field understands what the benefits are behind this, and one way to do that is to supply them with the information. I talk to a lot of them, a lot of patients, and they're like, yeah, my doctor doesn't care. It's they say they can't discuss that with me, and that's bullshit. I'm sorry, pardon my French, but that's false. They can discuss it with you. It's their obligation, and I will go over that here just shortly, more in depth. But we encourage you to talk to your doctor and your health practitioners about your cannabis use and what it's doing for you, because that's where we change minds on a small level, and through that they'll research on their own and find institutions that they recognize and that they respect doing the studies on it, and they'll come around, and that's what we're wanting to do. Let's see. One of the other things that we're wanting to do is focus our efforts with all the other chapters in Texas. Saturday, Jason Falconbridge, our executive director, will be traveling to Austin for the Directors Conference. It's a conference for directors in Texas of the NORML chapters, and they're going to be focusing on how all the chapters can work together in a unified effort to get the laws changed. Because I don't know if many of you are familiar with any of the other chapters in Texas, but this year it's been one of the most successful years we've had in legislation, in a legislative session in Texas. But we need more focused efforts. There was a lot of people that still don't understand the difference between hemp and quote unquote marijuana. Cannabis is hemp. Hemp is cannabis. We can get in. I'm sure our special guest speaker Dereck will get into it more thoroughly, but so I'll leave time for him to do that. He's the expert on it. He's more than capable of answering any questions. But some of the events that we've got coming up, I'm sorry about that. Some of the events that we've got coming up that we need volunteers for is the K's Share the Pain Children's Benefit, which is this Saturday at 11 a.m. It's a bike ride. We told it that we try and get a booth out there and set up. We need volunteers to go out there. I don't know if any of y'all have family that ride bikes or anything like that. There's live music, there's food, there's all kinds of festivities that's out there at Crystal Beach. So it's a beach setting, should have a good time. So I encourage all of y'all to go out there and support a benefit that is supporting children that are suffering from cancer and other ailments. So that's one of the events that we've got going on that we need volunteers for. Along with the Hemp History Week campaign that we're running alongside, the Beaumont Farmers Market and the Nederland Farmers Market Saturday will be out there with this same booth and setup, and Hempy that's been crashed out. I don't think he had something else to drink over there, but he's crashed out on the table. He'll be out at the Farmers Market Saturday morning off of College in Beaumont from 7 a.m. to 10, and then the booth will move to Nederland and set up there to educate. So most of you already took what you want from here, but if you want any more, come see us Saturday. If you somebody else wants something that you know wants some of this product, send them our way. We've got plenty to go around. We've also got at the end of January, or at the end of July 25th, the gentleman I was speaking of, Jeremy Borg, his court case is on the 25th, and we're wanting to get a rally started here in Beaumont in support of patients. Not necessarily specifically for Jeremy, it is in support of Jeremy, but it's in support of all patients. And we're doing this, one thing, to raise awareness on it, to spread the information, the medical information, but two, also bring awareness to Jeremy's case once again before he goes to court. We hope he postpones it. We hope they don't take it to court. That's what we're hoping, and that's what we're betting on, that they won't want to take him to court, because it's just not something they want to fight. All right, let's see. Any other news? Oh, by show of hands, all registered members, can I see your hands? Okay, last month we I discussed in brief a gentleman that we come across at the South by Southwest event in Austin, the Smoke by Southwest little sub party that we had in Austin. We focused our efforts on decriminalization because this event was geared at the minorities, I guess you could say, of the main attendees of this event. So we geared it more towards decriminalization because decriminalization basically faces the law. Prohibition is geared towards the minority, and it's a racial law, and it's something that needs to be ended. So we felt our presence was necessary there. We met a lot of great people, a lot of great support. One of the people we did meet was Jay Hill. He's a rap artist, R&B artist out of Alabama. If you've been following our news feed on Facebook or anything, or one of our feeds personally, you've probably seen it been posted. He had a video where one of our supporters at that event, he put a little plug of a minute in between the middle of his video on us educating the public there on what's going on with decriminalization. He happens to be from Alabama. Alabama is one of only very few states, I believe 3 in the United States, that does not have normal representation. So we feel that getting that information out through an artist in Alabama where there's no representation could spark somebody starting a chapter there and helping out the people in Alabama as the 17, 18, 19 chapters in Texas have done. So we're asking for your vote tonight whether or not we are going to allow him to sponsor us. There's no money donation or exchange being exchanged here. It is merely a reputational sponsorship. He's willing to put our information, our knowledge into his songs and shows, and have a stage presence promoting Southeast Texas NORML and NORML in general. And where one of his things was, every other rap artist is rapping about big screen TVs, guns, and hoes. He wants to rap about or sing about, however you want to put it. He wants to use education. He wants to do something that's going to be helpful, and he felt NORML and the cause behind marijuana legalization was fit. So, all right. Well, that sounds like we've got a unanimous. Yeah. For the record, though, all those in favor of his support and sponsorship, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and all those opposed? Nay.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll confirm it tonight. Thank you for your support. He's very, and we did have a chance to sit down and talk to this gentleman. He's very intelligent, very level-headed, and I believe that he can really bring something to the table with the spreading the information. So let's see if there's any other. Yes, there is. The Women's Alliance. There's a meeting has moved to the 21st at Klein Park at 2 p.m. So the Women's Alliance, if any and all ladies that are interested in the Women's Alliance, gentlemen are welcome as well. But it is the Women's Alliance, and everyone's welcome. It's on the 21st, 2 p.m. at Klein Park. And without further ado, we've got a very special guest tonight that's traveled a long way, went through a lot of roadside troubles to get here in time. So hopefully I'm not cutting into his time because he worked hard to get here. We appreciate him coming all the way out here to educate us on hemp. Being Hemp History Week, we felt it was appropriate for his education. And hemp is a very vital and very important industrial crop that we need to know more about. And if you have any questions or anything that he sparks an interest in, feel free to Q&A him. And I'm sure he'll have the answers. He's very intelligent. I've had a chance to talk to him quite a bit, and I've heard a lot of great things about him. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Dereck Cross from hempsolutions.org.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me up here. I'm gonna take a second to just set up here, if you don't mind, and we'll go on. How's that? I will try not to burn down the stage here. I don't know how well this is gonna work. But what I have in here is hemp seed oil, and it's pressed from the industrial hemp seed oil. Okay, this is fuel for America, basically safe enough to drink. I started my venture. Oh, there's a breeze up here. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I started all this out with hemp seed oil, using it on my skin as an aid for eczema. And all that is a cold pressed seed oil that comes right from, if not a lot of you are familiar, when the plant grows, it grows seed, and that seed is pressed into oil, not to be confused with CBD oil or high-grade cannabis oil. So this is a separate oil, not to be mixed up. So there's a lot of talk and there's a lot of education that is needed when we're discussing cannabis hemp and cannabis for medicine. And I grow industrial hemp, not medicinal cannabis, just so everybody knows. So I'm not an expert
Where do you grow?
medicine grower.
Where?
Excuse me.
Where?
My partner was in Colorado. I grew last year, and then this year we'll be growing in Tennessee, where my one partner is licensed for 52 acres in Tennessee this year. So we're really excited about that opportunity. Actually, the seeds are in Tennessee right now. They should be going out there next Wednesday to start putting it in the soil. So
Is that all you can cultivate right now? Or can you send it off to Denver and Colorado?
no,
the actual
no, it
plant?
has to stay within the state of Tennessee. It has to get processed. And once it's processed, that way the seed doesn't leave the state until the other states, like Corey had mentioned, there's like 20 plus states, 27 states.
Do you destroy the actual bud, or do you?
No, it doesn't technically form a full bud like you would as medicinal buds, but it will have a flower effect, and that's where the seeds will lie. So, but yeah, I mean, you're going to harvest it, and there's different ways, there's different cultivars and varieties of hemp, and they all grow at different sizes and heights. As you see, this is a small, about 3 to 4 foot crop. This is out of the first crop in America for over 50 years. This was in Colorado and Springfield. This was Ryan Laughlin's crop. I went up there for the historic hemp harvest, and I brought back some souvenir here. And then there's my partner and I grew last year on her acreage. She was the first licensed female in the country to grow, and we pulled out some roots that, if you look on my Facebook page, you look up Dereck Cross, or you can look up Happy Tree Tea or Hemp Solutions, you'll see some of the roots that I pulled out, and we had an early hail. This crop will use less water than most crops, but if you give it more water, it'll definitely grow to heights of up to 20 feet.
Do you use the stalks for any kind of byproduct, or?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Let me finish getting set up here.
Okay, I
I'm
wasn't
gonna be
rushing
like,
you, I'm just
I'm gonna be
curious.
just like Carrot Top here. So hang on here, I'll pull some stuff out. I do apologize for getting here a little late, but this is our hemp hurd. So when you break this stalk off, so when you break it, you have the bast fibers that are combed out to make your clothing materials, robes, insulations. These are our grow mats for our microgreens. You can use these in, you could use it for underlayment for carpeting. You could use this for insulation on a thinner level. You can use this for composites and using this in place of fiberglass. So that's what you get with the fiber on the exterior. This can get combed out and processed into these fibers, and if you guys want, you can go ahead and start here and feel it. There's it's all natural. The insulation has that piece of insulation is about 2.5 inches, and it's close to an R20 insulation value.
R20, wow.
Roughly. Then on the inside of the stock here, it's called the hurd or the shiv. That's called the woody core, and that can be used. This is called hemp hurd or hemp shiv. This is used for making animal bedding, plywoods. You can use both the combination of the fiber and the pulp to make paper. There's thousands of different uses and applications for that. Not to mention the seed, the hemp seed. When we press the hemp seed, you're left with the remainder of the seed in the outer part of the jacket. Then that's fined and refined into hemp protein powders. So that's, the whole plant is completely usable. There's zero waste from tip to toe all the way down.
How about the roots? What are the
The
roots?
roots can be used as balms or salves, or in my business, you can use this to make tea.
Can you
Make
eat
tea.
the protein powder?
Excuse me?
Do you eat the protein powder?
Yes, sir. You use the protein powder in different ways. Now, it's really heavy in weight, so you can use this in with your cooking. I'm a hemp chef too, so I cook with the seeds, oil, and protein powders. And you can use this, it's like a 2-to-1 ratio with flour. You're gonna get some pretty heavy cookies and brownies. So all my friends think I'm making hot brownies, but I'm not. The industrial hemp seed is completely digestible protein. It's high in omega-3, 6, and 9.
Could you replace your GMC protein mixture?
You
With
could,
something like
you
that.
could.
That's what
You
I
could
thought.
use this instead of soy or whey proteins. I use it in my smoothies and make it, and you can sprinkle it basically in anything. You can use it for all your baking needs. But once again, it's pretty heavy. So those who do bake, you're gonna know.
Use a little.
It's good, yeah.
What do you
So
recommend a
I'm gonna
source?
pass some of these around to you.
What do you recommend for a source for the protein?
I'm sorry?
Where do you recommend to get the protein? Do you guys sell it or what?
Yeah, well, we'll be selling that as we go along right now. This is the hemp stalk, and then you can see how it's broke. Don't, if you guys want to break it, go ahead, but just be careful. You know, take some home with you. That's all I can share with that. That's a historic crop there, so can't go too far. So the seed oil can also be pressed into this deck stain, or yeah, the deck stain and coating. So that rich green flavor, non-toxic, no chemicals, long-lasting stain and seal.
Does it have like a brown tint or does it have like
No,
a green tint to it?
well, this one is actually a clear. So it's made by a company called Hemp Shield.
Oh, so is it a sealer?
This is a sealer, but they also have a stain. And up till 1951, Sherman-Williams used to use the hemp seed oil for all their paint needs. We used to be able to run our cars on this. Now, this hemp seed oil can be actually refined into diesel fuel. It can be refined into jet fuel, and it's safe enough to drink, you know, so. It's good for you. I'm not done. I'm not done. Bring on. This is a company called Hemp Shield, and he's out of Oregon. His name is Dave Sieber. Either Washington or Oregon.
So they're not, they're getting.
He's
the
been in
seeds-
business for a long
But
time.
they're getting the seeds from out of
Everything's,
the country.
everything's been imported up until now. So our crop will be an American grown crop. It'll be going to the American companies. There's companies here in Texas, not just myself, but there's Hippie Butter, there's Good Seed Burger, there's Hemp 360. These are all companies here in Texas that are importing. And I just went up in March 18th with the Texas Hemp Industries Association. We lobbied. We got one of our hemp bills. Actually, it did come out of committee. It was Hemp Bill 557 for research, and the other one was HB 1322, where we would allow the farmers to grow here in Texas. We had a great turnout, and everything did come out of committee with flying colors, but it just stalled out at the end. It didn't make it. So now Texas has to wait 2 more years. So as you learn this, and we educate about industrial hemp, it's important that you all keep on, your congressmen and senators, everybody needs to know how vital this crop is. And non-toxic homes can be built with this hemp herd. So there's something called hempcrete. And here's the plywood I spoke of. And then this is hempcrete. This is made with Texas, this can be made with Texas lime. It's really lightweight. Now this can be broke. This has only got lime and hemp, the hemp herd.
But would this be
But you
like
can
for an
put a
adobe
hardening-
house or
yes,
something like,
yes.
and then you plaster over
Yep.
it? That would be.
So try not to break it. You can break it, but if you
I
add an
can feel
extra
it. It's got a
hardening,
little ply in it.
you can pass that around too.
Petrifies over time, right?
It does, because carbon, hemp grows and produces so much more oxygen, 4 times more oxygen than trees, locking up all the carbon. And so when we use it in this form into the mix, what happens is the lime binder will actually extract the carbon from the herd, and you actually strengthen over time. Like you said, it'll actually petrify. So when you're building these homes and using these natural products, you're seeing that it will reduce the toxins into your house. And there's a lot of people that have issues. Here we go. This is hemp. This is called hemp adobe. There's a company, Kevin Hodge, Hemp Adobe Homes. That's what he made with that.
So it'll harden just as well as like the horse manure mixture or whatever that they use with straw.
That's
or whatever.
basically like a hemp adobe plaster. That's his own
It feels real